The pre-sale for badges to the Rose City Comic Con is underway. It's coming to the Oregon Convention Center September 6th through 8th, and this year's lineup is stacked. Hayden Christensen, aka Anakin Skywalker, will be there, so will Rosario Dawson from movies like Death Proof, Sin City, and Men in Black 2, and Simon Pegg from Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. Freaking Simon Pegg! Plus a ton of cast members from your favorite shows and movies, along with your favorite comic book artists, authors, and so much more. Go buy your badges now at rosecitycomiccon.com. Portland Spirit has teamed up with Cliff Barackman, star of Animal Planet's Finding Bigfoot, to create a truly unique Northwest experience, the Bigfoot Adventure Cruise. On this 3.5-hour jet boat tour, you'll explore the history of local sightings of Bigfoot while traveling 80 miles round trip from Portland to Multnomah Falls. You'll see famous landmarks in the Columbia River Gorge while also listening to exclusive narration by Cliff Barackman, recorded just for this cruise. Now, this cruise is offered daily except Tuesday through the end of September. So if you haven't done a jet boat cruise, now is the time. You can go see the schedule and book tickets at portlandspirit.com. You might have heard that our city government is about to drastically change. I'm not just talking about the 12 brand new city council members and mayor that we're getting this fall. All of their job roles are also changing from what we've had in the past. Starting in January, the mayor is no longer part of city council. We now have a city administrator running things. Council members no longer head bureaus. The very structure of how our city is run, totally changing. But how is all of this going to work? So today on CityCast Portland, KOIN investigative reporter Elise Haas is here to help us make sense of what's coming. It's Tuesday, August 13th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. So first off, we're going to have a whole new position that oversees a lot of what our past city council and mayor was in charge of. So we're getting a city administrator. And to me, that sounds like a fancy secretary of a city, you know? But because I did watch Parks and Rec, I did do prep on this. I know that that was Chris Traeger's role, right? And he seemed like everyone's boss, including the mayor's. So like, what's the scope of this new position in Portland?
I mean, it's a very big role, right? And just to give some people background, like how will this person even get this gig? So the future mayor is going to appoint, and the city council will have to approve, whoever the city administrator is. And ultimately, that person is going to be running the day-to-day operations of Portland. So the city administrator plays that pivotal role in overseeing all of those bureaus, you know, managing the critical services such as law enforcement, emergency response, infrastructure development, and ensuring that all of those goods and services that like we're used to getting as citizens are delivered efficiently. They are going to be working with the elected officials, managing budgets, and then also addressing those like challenges that ultimately come up in a city, right?
Yeah, that just seems like it could bottleneck. I don't know why. It just seems like one person, or is it their staff underneath one person?
Correct. So think of it like a top-down approach. You have this one person who is developing those long and short-term plans for the city's needs. And then at the end of the day, they're also overseeing the city finances, personnel, and operations. They are like dividing and conquering and divvying up and delegating smaller roles within that. But they will be the figurehead who then is communicating with the public, but also communicating with city council about, you know, the financial matters of the city. And then they will be responsible for really analyzing the city policies, like how are they working or not working, and giving the councilors and the public an update on that. So you'll see them, you know, giving the annual reports to city council, right? And then behind the scenes, they'll also be ensuring that all of the ordinances and laws are being followed.
So what does the mayor do then? It just sounds like
what's left for the mayor to do. Okay, so the mayor is going to be removed from the legislative process, right? And that's something that we're not really used to here in Portland. But the biggest change, like I said, is you'll no longer see the mayor going to city council meetings anymore on a regular basis. The mayor does not play a consistent role, an active role in creating and passing legislation. As you know, Claudia, like the only vote that a mayor can do is now that tie-breaking vote.
Mm-hmm.
But what the mayor will do, they are the key leader of the entire organization. So think of the mayor as the CEO of a business. And it's the mayor's job to take all of the policies and directives from city council and put them into reality and make sure that they're going. And since the mayor is elected citywide, the mayor is the one elected leader that is actually responsive to all constituents.
Okay.
And so then there's the stuff that we're used to the mayor doing. They are responsible for connecting with regional governments, the state and the county. They're responsible for the annual budget, and of course that has to still be approved and adopted by city council. But really, the mayor and the city administrator will be focused on running the day-to-day operations and overseeing all of the bureaus, versus it being split up.
Okay, I want to go back to your analogy of the mayor as CEO. So where would the city administrator be within this analogy if the mayor is the CEO?
That's a good question. I mean, they could be like, the CFO, the chief financial officer, kind of, you know what I mean?
So that's how I think of an administrator, is like they're more of just like, can we do this? And they're like looking at all of the bigger pictures. They're like, no. So it's interesting to me that the mayor is still in charge of the city budget, since it seems like that would be a city administrator's job.
And so I would say that it really will be up to the city administrator and the mayor, whoever gets, elected, to figure out how they're going to divvy up those responsibilities. But in reality, if the city administrator, this is somebody who's gone to school for this, right? They are trained to
Did not know this was a job.
Right. I mean, if you think about it right now, we've got a bunch of people who are, ran nonprofits and were like advocates for certain things, and now they're running city bureaus. Like they don't have that expertise, and it's, to no fault of their own, but they don't really have that experience and maybe the schooling to be able to run a city efficiently. So the city administrator will kind of also be like an advisor. So if you think of like the president, he has an overall vision, but he's got advisors who are experts in different fields and will help kind of dictate and help them go in the right direction. So that is where they will work as a tag team. So the mayor will have like the bigger vision, and then the city administrator will help take care of the day-to-day stuff.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. The vision of them working together is beginning to congeal. I still love thinking about it as Chris Traeger, though.
I think most people will.
Just endlessly positive person who's running 10 miles every morning. Let's move on to city council, because that's going to change as well. It's going to be a lot bigger because there's now 3 for every new voting district. So how will a council member's job change from head to bureau to district rep? Like, what are they now in charge of? Because I also heard that they don't get staff. It's like one other person. Everything's changing. So like, walk us through like what's going on now.
Okay, so their job description is really just being stripped down. They're going to be very, very narrowly focused on policy. Let's kind of also go back a little bit. Let's talk about what is currently going on, in our form of government. Right now, you've got like 4 commissioners and a mayor who are responsible for not only managing council meetings, but they're driving policy decisions. They are making legislation. But then, hold up, wait, they're also responsible for managing multiple bureaus and all of the personnel and the finances, et cetera, all while responding to, constituents across the entire city. And then we're asking yourself, why does that not work? Well, I mean, put yourself in their shoes. Could you actually get all of that work done in a day? Probably not. So you'll find that with our current system, they're working in some silos. They're getting super hyper-focused on what's going on in their bureau. And they might be fighting for money for what's going on in their world without having a good overall holistic picture of what's going on in the city. So the frequent complaint about the current system is that we've got this division of commissioners who have like turf wars for their bureaus and horse trading going on that then can override this uniform vision for the city. And so that's why having a city administrator will make that a little bit cleaner, right?
Right.
So when you think about the commissioners currently having to take on so many different roles, it makes sense that they've got like a big squad of people. Like Commissioner Rubio or MAPS, you name it, they have a lot of people working behind them. They've got a chief of staff, they've got several policy advisors, they've got an external affairs expert, a communications person, like you name it, they've got it. But that makes sense because their job is so big and so vast. They need the backup. So now let's step forward to what we are going to have. We're going to have city councilors, 12 of them, and their only job is to go to city council meetings and create policy, right? So it does make sense that they don't have a huge staff and they only have one aide to themselves. But here's something that's interesting. Each district will still also get an additional aide to share among the 3 councilors. Did you know that?
No. So 3 council members, each one has an aide, and plus just like a general aide for everyone. Why? Why just a general aide? Is that just like the person checking emails? Like, I don't understand.
So these people are part of the council operations team. And what I think that's most interesting about this team is that these aides will be long-term employees of the city. And regardless of turnover at city council. And so usually, like, when a new leader comes in, they'll wipe out the old staff and hire all new people.
That's really interesting. No, that's actually a really great idea because no one's starting from scratch. There's a person there to guide them and go, okay, this is how things are done here.
You're nailing it. That's the whole point. What previously has been going on did not create an environment for developing experience and institutional knowledge at the city. And so the hope is that this council operations team will foster some consistency of legacy and then be able to offer some greater guidance to the incoming councilors over the years.
Yeah. Just the important stuff like here's the snack cabinet.
You got to know where the goldfish are.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, more changes to how city council will be operating. If you're a home DIYer like me, you might have some leftover paint gathering dust in your basement. But I'm happy to share that Paint Care has 3 simple rules for painting smarter, reducing waste, and helping you get back some of that much-needed storage space. First, buy the right amount of paint for the job. Paint Care has 6 questions to ask yourself when buying paint that can help ensure you have enough while minimizing waste. Second, you use up what's left. Before you break out the paintbrush and tape, see if you have any leftover paint that can save you a trip to the store. Paint Care's website also offers helpful tips for storing paint properly so it lasts for years. And third, if you still have paint, stain, or varnish left over, Paint Care makes it easy to recycle it with convenient drop-off locations as close as your local hardware store. And you can go learn more at paintcare.org/3simplerules.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
The other thing that I heard is that we're also creating a role of city council president who will be the face of the council's decisions. And they're going to be the ones that interact with the mayor more. So a bit more streamlined in communication. I can see the point of why, because you don't want to be talking to 12 different people, but is there any other reason aside from like effectiveness of communicating a thought? What else will the city council president do?
Okay, no, great question. So I'm glad you asked that, and I'm glad that you gave some of the context for communication purposes. But first, I guess, how do you become council president?
Yeah,
right?
Is everyone going to vote like 2nd grade?
Only council will vote on who the council president will be. The mayor does not get a say in that.
Okay.
And then whoever is elected council president will basically do what we see Mayor Ted Wheeler doing in council meetings today. They'll be the air traffic controller kind of running the show, if you will, during the meetings. But then outside of the meetings, the council president will establish the agenda with the clerk's office. They will also decide the committee assignments and policy priority topics for the other counselors, etc. You kind of get the idea there. And then in the case of an absence, there's also going to be a vice president, and then they will assume those roles, say if they're on vacation or sick.
It just feels like student council all over again. Like, I'm just imagining within these 12 city council members, them running for this role and like what their promises will be. Like, they're just like more recess, 2 pizza days a week, at lunch. Like, what
Totally.
else? Extra tater tots.
When I ran for student council vice president as a kid, you make those posters and you hang them up across the hallway. And mine was like, I'm open to new ideas. And it had a picture of Katy Perry and Cherry Chapstick, If it's like, I kissed a girl and I liked it. Do you remember that song? So yes, maybe that's going to happen in City Hall. Who knows?
I hope this happens. I want to see all those posters.
I put that out in my yard,
I love it. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm curious how this is going to change the process of getting attention of elected officials. Will it be any easier now that we have 3 reps that actually live in our area and we know that's who we go to, or is it going to be just as convoluted as it is now? We're just I don't know which bureau to go to.
Right. I think at face value, you see it and you're like, whoa, there's so many people. Who do I go to? And I think that's a fair initial reaction. But then as I've learned more about how the city is going to be operating, I think that instead of thinking about who do I reach out to, I think that constituents and residents should think more about what is my problem? What is my issue that I need addressed? So, and then I think that can be really divvied up into 3 buckets. So bucket number 1, you see that there's systemic issues citywide and you want to talk to somebody about it. Then that's something to bark up the tree of the mayor, because the mayor is that one role that is elected citywide and has to respond to all constituents. And then the mayor can work with the city administrator to really suggest those policy decisions to city council, because the city administrator and the mayor, even though they are on that administrative side, they still have the ability to add things to the agenda so you get that full feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
So then bucket number 2, say you're driving along and then you hit a pothole, or you see that there's some illegal dumping over there, or maybe a tent that's blocking sidewalk access to a school. Those are, minor things that you don't really need to talk to any counselors about, because the city administration can take care of that. So basically, at this point, with the new form of government, 311 will be your friend, because the city administrators can unilaterally deal with all of those kinds of issues because they have it all budgeted, right, without having to go to city council at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third and final bucket is if you are seeing patterns of issues that are specifically in your neighborhood or district, right, that isn't already budgeted for, and you want to advocate for a budget item, or you want to support or oppose things that your district rep is doing, then that's when you're going to contact your district counselors.
I feel like I'm starting to understand the push to 311 a lot more. I always thought that it was to help alleviate 911, which I'm sure it is as well.
Correct.
I know people have been complaining about 311, and I'm like, it's awesome. I don't understand why anyone's mad at 311, because if anything, you get answers quicker. And so, but policy stuff, that would be your rep.
Yeah, that's going to be your reps. And if it's specific to your neighborhood, go to your reps. If it's citywide, go to the mayor. I think that, too, if you are well, then which rep do I talk to? Because I have 3.
Yeah.
That will really, Claudia, be up to the constituent. How do they want to communicate with their elected officials? They could reach out to 1, or they could reach out to all 3.
I got it. Compatible star signs.
Or remember that that team that I was talking about, they'll all have one shared aide. Maybe they use that one shared aide to be that one point of contact, so that way all of the three, counselors for that district are on the same page.
Mm-hmm. They're like, Claudia wants frozen yogurt in her neighborhood.
Right? Make it happen.
Yeah, District 3 needs a pizza party. Stat. Okay. So when I hear how the new form of government is organized, it does sound a lot more streamlined and like it might lead to quicker decision making and action, which is something we're lacking at the moment. But I fear I will miss the petty drama of what we're leaving behind. These 10 city council meetings where nothing happens except a lot of eye rolling and just, standing on whatever business it is that you think you have that day. Do you foresee any points of conflict, like pressure points with how things are organized in this new form of government?
I have so many thoughts and feelings, right? I feel like there are 3 different things to address in that long question.
Oh my God, my question was not that long.
Are
Elisa.
you sure?
I just want the listener to know that I got burned by another reporter because you don't ask long questions. And that was just a subtle girl, wrap it up. Okay, go on, Elisa.
So I feel like Portland and Multnomah County will always be like the desperate housewives. You know what I mean? Like we're always going to have that no matter what. It's baked into our personality. And, I think that there's pros and cons to what we passed, right? For sure, the best thing that has happened is that we have now broken up our government into those 2 branches of government. We've got the legislative body and the administrative body, and they can stay in their lanes and do their thing. And then they can collaborate. That's great. A con, maybe, Claudia, we possibly have too many cooks in the kitchen, Maybe we've created a very expensive government that takes a lot of money to run. I think it's also important to remember that this actually really is a brand new form of government. Yes, we have pulled in some tried and true tactics of government that is seen across the country, but we've also sprinkled in some brand new things that have never been done before. So it will remain to be seen, but overall, we have some things to look forward to.
Okay, can I tell you, just based on me watching Parks and Rec, I think the city administrator is going to bum everyone out.
Oh, totally. They'll be very monotone.
They're like, but I'm used to doing it this way. And the city administrator's like, we don't have any money. You're not going to do it that way.
Right. I think that a lot of times, so why do people go into government? It's really because they want to influence policy, et cetera. And they're used to seeing the city leaders being able to do almost everything. And now it's the city administrator will be the really realistic one, while the counselors will be super idealistic and thinking anything's possible. Meanwhile, you have somebody who's super fiscally responsible being no, that's not how life works.
We're eating turkey burgers.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, but no, I don't want to eat a turkey burger.
That's a good thought. Okay, so that's likely. I also think that anytime you're trying something new, from my experience, I've talked to so many people who are working really, really closely on this transition, and they are absolutely in good faith working diligently to make this transition as seamless as possible. But whenever you're trying something new, there's just unintended consequences, right? That you just couldn't foresee, or the world changed, aka we have another pandemic. You know what I mean? And then we'll have some things that we run into issue-wise that we'll have to just address as they come. Where I really see maybe the drama coming in is actually more so on the voters than maybe what we've created as a form of government.
Oh, buyer's remorse?
Oh, well, that's true. That could absolutely happen. But I think the conflict will come down to who do we elect? Are we electing divisive, dogmatic people, or ones who are more moderate or collaborative? Are we having a council across the 12 that's really balanced and they seem to overall have some shared goals? Or is it split 50-50 and District 1 and 2 are on one side, District 3 and 4 on the other, and then the mayor's coming in with all these.
Elise, I got it again.
Right?
Astrological sign compatibility. I feel I've already answered this one. So there's that. Sorry, you're a Libra. We can't have you here. We need an Aquarius.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The personality clashes.
Yeah. Sorry, too many Geminis. Too many Geminis. We need someone to stop talking.
you're definitely conceited. We can't do it.
We can't have you in this group. The other thing that I did want to bring up before we wrap it up is I am curious how all of this is going to affect the bureau heads, because I feel like they're the ones that I always feel sorry for the most, because they are in charge of their bureau and then they have to go. I just imagine them opening this door and it's just like chaos. I'm just curious, like, if the bureau heads are going to have more support or less support, you know?
I think that because they know who their leader is, and their leader, which is the city administrator and mayor, but like really the city administrator, there's going to be like less politics involved over running the bureaus. Currently, the bureaus are being run and swayed via politics. That's not great. But because of the separation of, the legislative and administrative bodies, I think that they will get a directive and they will follow that directive. And there won't be, again, like, well, if you help me out with my bureau, then I'll give you some more money for your bureau. None of that will be going on anymore.
Yeah, because the city administrator is going to be like, this is what you have. This is what we're doing. Yeah. And see, again, but will that rub people the wrong way? Oh my God, I'm so excited. This whole new season of Portland City Council is going to be very exciting, is what I'm saying.
Yes, in January 2025. I can't wait. And now, they are literally redoing City Hall as we speak. They're constructing a new chambers and dais to fit 12 people. They are adding walls and offices in City Hall to add more counselors. It's a big deal. Big deal.
Yeah. Well, I'm always excited about the future. Really am. I think it's going to work out. I think there's going to be bumps, but I'm pretty excited about how that's working out. So if anyone listening, if you still have questions about how this new form of government is going to be working, just write in. We'll just give you Elisa's number.
Yeah, just call me.
Well, that's what we'll do. Is that cool?
Yeah,
we'll put it in the show notes.
Shoot me an email and I'd be happy to respond.
Just text Elise. She will tell you what's going on and give you advice on any campaign posters.
Oh, yes.
For student council.
I've got ideas.
Yeah. That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend, rate or leave us a review. It really does help us out. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you with Slims.